to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, and Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello, my name is Paul HATKE. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born here, raised here, and still live here. Along with my wife, I am the author of the book Moving the Tassels, and I'm going to try to give a couple of readings that may give an idea what the book's about. I welcome any questions, chat questions that might arise. I'll try to answer them. Try to give you an idea of what the book is. It is a timeline piece, I guess you might say, from the late 1960s. Is a very turbulent time for those that lived that particular period would know. And for those that don't, maybe we can shed some light on that. And it's just about a quick summary of things. And as I said, if there's any questions, I welcome them. Try to answer them. Thank you. While we are waiting, I'm going to read the first chapter I wrote about this. It's actually chapter 4, and I put in some pieces on the front and back of that. Chapter 4 starts, "It's the usual Friday night high school game. I was waiting for a friend, George, to drive over and give me a ride to the game. George was an acquaintance, and recalling how we struck up a friendship is not clear, but it wasn't anything to regret in befriending him. My parents liked George, at least my mother did. She must have seen George as a positive influence on me. George was studious. He's a year older and he attended a local college, although he was preparing to transfer soon. It came as no surprise that he was also doing well in college. Most of my friends were doing their schoolwork with below average grades. My grades were right there with him. Back to George, he was very friendly to my parents. My father never objected to George coming around, and my mom would usually speak to him. sometimes talking for quite a while. She used to get tickled at how he would argue nearly any point. Sometimes when George was making his point, my mom would counter. I would have to interfere in order to speed things up and get them finished with their discussion, or better put, their conversation. George is pulling in the driveway, Mom. I'll be back sometime after the game. Yelling this out while exiting the door. My mom ran to the door, calling as if I were going away and possibly never be seen again. Hello, Miss Patterson. How are you? George called out to my mother in a louder than normal voice. Hi, George. You boys enjoy the football game, Mom said, as the strength in her voice seemed to drop off some. My hope was to get us out of the driveway quickly. My mother and George could get started, and on their long-winded gab fest, what then? We'd missed half the ball game if this chat between them didn't move along. Come on, let's go, I eagerly said. We got plenty of time, George assured me. Then he asked, how did you get the night off from work? The schedule has me going in tomorrow morning. They have to give me some time off once in a while, you know. By the way, we're picking up someone that is going to the game with us, George said in a direct way. A girl, my eyes opened up wider in excitement. Roger Blackwell. You know Roger, don't you? Yeah, I know Roger. It was some effort trying not to sound too disappointed. He was one of those people you didn't care to hang out with. Pretty girl would have made it nice to sit in beside the car. George dated some really good-looking girls. Most of the girls he went out with wouldn't give me the time of day if George wasn't present. It is a letdown when you picture momentarily a Miss America and then you realize you're kicking around with some guy like Roger. Maybe he is all right. He's just difficult to hang around with. Okay. Once again, I'm going to show the front of the book, moving the tassels. I'm going to give you an idea of where I came up with the name at. A lot of young people in their high school years, later years, start looking at what they're going to be doing after high school, their graduation. And in the case of Wes Patterson, who narrates the book, he was unsure if, I think we got somebody coming in. Got Barrigor 668. Well, it's great having you. Is there anything I can answer for you? Once again, this is my book. Okay, well, back to this again. What's the story all about? Just came in. Well, Bridget Amelia. This book is about a senior in high school trying to complete his senior year, along with some of the things that went on at that time. We were experiencing Vietnam War. We had 2 assassinations in the year 1968 that kind of shook the country. And we had, I'd say, some differences within the families between the generations. The younger generation was pretty much opposed to the Vietnam War. Probably the family members that were older had experienced World War II and realized that there are times when you do have to fight. And it was almost a conflict within the households and what they was dealing with. And it gets back to the high school senior who's struggling to pretty much find his place in the world, and maybe what would be beyond his high school graduation. He had to make certain choices, or look to make certain choices. He was not a very good student, and he realized he's going to have to apply himself to some degree and trying to make better grades in order to graduate high school, and probably take things from there. Is there any other questions? Or does that help answer your question? No? Okay. Would there be anybody that would happen to be stopping by that is viewing this that somewhat? There's a small portion that could be considered autobiographical, but the rest of it is pretty much experiences some of my friends had had, some people I knew, and I just turned it around. Try not to make it too obvious who I was talking to or talking about. But it was some experiences I did have in high school. The question is, the characters on the story are real? It's almost composites of the characters. There are some things that happen. It's, once again, it's not anybody in particular. I took some things that did occur and put some twist to them in order to develop my story. But it's pretty much how a lot of things were at that time period of 1968 and 1969. Question is, what inspired me to write the book? As with a lot of authors, I wanted to get a book in print. I had procrastinated quite a bit, and realized doing that wasn't getting the job done. As far as the inspiration, I loved growing up in the 1960s with all the turbulence and sometimes unsettled things that were going on. It was still a great time. We had experiences that were changing the world, had changed the world a little bit. John F. Kennedy had been assassinated in November of 1963. Several months later, the Beatles and the British invasion came, and these were just almost they were life-changing events for so many people. To move on a little bit, toward the end of the 1960s, we had things going on in California, such as Haight-Ashbury, the hippie movement. Drugs were making a big impact on people, and at times is tearing families apart. But there's also so many good things. We had the landing of astronauts on the moon in the summer of 1969, which is not mentioned in the book because that happened actually after the book ends. But there's technology had changed things for people at that particular time, and just I'm not going to say a conflict, but there was a generation gap that was strongly affected during that period. Regardless of that, it was still just a great time to grow up, great time to be a high school student. I had told my stepdaughter and gave her the book about this. She read it and got pretty good feedback on it from her. She reads quite a bit. I also handed a copy of this to my wife, and it kind of surprised her. She knew I was doing something, but I think it kind of caught her off guard. And I mentioned this before. With a little bit of shock to her, I told her, I said, the book's dedicated to you. And how many people have a dedication, can say they have a book dedicated to them? Okay. Andy says hello. Hello to Andy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. A little bit different spelling than what I'm used to, but I think these days everybody spells their name a little bit different. Andy, do you have a question? The question is, how long did it take for you to complete the book? Probably took about a year and a half, probably about 2 years before I had done my own editing on this and was happy with what I was presenting. Okay, I've got the question. Good morning. What's the meaning of the book cover and how does it connect with the story? How does it connect with the story? Of course, the title is Moving the Tassels, and it is in reference to the tassels on the mortarboard hat that are moved over after graduation. It is tied in with the story. This is a senior in high school in the late 1960s, actually 1968, 1969. Some of the activities that were going on. This Wes Patterson, who is actually the narrator of the book, is experiencing difficulties getting through his senior year in high school. Okay. What was the most difficult part for me writing this book? I guess putting the chapters together. I started out with writing the 4th chapter and added the other chapters on there. What does literary success look like to you? I don't know how I can answer that. It comes from Garcia or Giles. It's a very difficult question to answer. If it came about with people enjoying the work, getting good feedback, positive sentences, positive things that people say about the book, I'm pretty happy with that. I want people to get something from it, maybe just reminisce from that particular time. And I have heard that from a few people. It says kind of nostalgic. Excuse me. Okay. I have attempted to write a few other things. I'm kind of struggle at times doing this. I don't know if writing comes as easy to me as I would want it to. I hear some people can sit down and just continue right on and on. And for me, that's not always the case. I try to figure how somebody would enjoy what the pages are going to entail. Tell us more about the chapter you mentioned that you find most challenging to write. That would probably be the most challenging would probably be the last chapter, which chapter 11, that's trying to wrap all this up. For one thing, one of the people that's mentioned it in this was not actually a real person, but it was supposed to be about a young lady that Wes Patterson was a little infatuated by, but she was actually non-existent. There was something that occurred. I did know a couple of people that had died my senior year in high school, and I tried to place them in the story, and even though it was fiction, I tried to stay true to what I had felt a little bit toward hearing these people that had died. And I want this to try to make sense. So chapter 11 was a little bit of a challenge. I tried to recall things that did occur from that time and to have it make sense on completion. Do I have any tips for aspiring writers? I will say what I've been told, try to write every day. Try to be true to what you're writing, something that you you do know, and best of luck with it. Okay. Your honest opinion is much appreciated. I'm an inspiring writer, and I'm looking into what success looks like for different authors to gather different inputs. Well, thank you. And I wish you the very best. I think we need good writers in the country, and I always enjoy people that have interesting and sometimes different opinions on things, different aspects. I wish you the very best of luck. Thank you. Do I have any plans for any upcoming book? I have been working on something that has been kind of difficult. I've been delayed for a number of things, a little procrastination on my part. I have another session that's supposed to be this afternoon, in a couple of hours, and hope you can join. Maybe I can answer a few more questions. And, this is kind of fun. Thank you. I'm doing fine. It's February 657. Is there a first name? The hardest part in completing the story, just I guess just to make it make sense of some sort. Uh, just pursue what you really enjoy. And get a good proofreader. That's one of my tips. Okay. Best of luck to you. Thank you. Catch you later. Uh, can you explain what you mean by very deep? Do you think the book was? What are the top 8 tips? I don't know if I've really counted 8. First is some research, hopefully. Be familiar with what you are writing. One big tip, as I mentioned about proofreader, I would make sure another pair of eyes, at least one other person, reads what you have written. I think it's very important. There's so many things I had overlooked on my own. Thought I could do this all by myself, and I think you need extra people involved as far as reading what you have written. Try to be familiar with a particular time period that you're referencing. And I'll have to close for right now. My time's up. Thank everybody for the questions.